Hi, welcome to Rounding Up the Roundhouse. I'm Dan Boyd.
And I'm Megan Gleason. Today we're joined by Senator Ant Thornton, who just about finished his first week of craziness at the Roundhouse.
If you enjoy our podcasts, please like and subscribe and consider becoming a digital subscriber to the Albuquerque Journal to help us continue to bring you more content like this. You can find this episode and all our podcasts on the Albuquerque Journal website, abqjournal.com, as well as YouTube, iTunes, Spotify, and SoundCloud. See the show notes for a discount on a digital subscription. Thank you for supporting the Albuquerque Journal, New Mexico's leading local news source.
So how are you doing, Senator? You've made it thus far?
I'm doing great. It's the first week, and it's been quite a whirlwind for a newbie like myself.
When we wanted to ask you, you're one of 16 new senators this year in the chamber, and what's it kind of been like, opening day, taking the oath of office, some of that, and getting to kind of know your way a little bit around the Roundhouse?
Well, that's exactly right. I think I actually came in the day before the inaugural day, if you will. I came on Monday, basically to get some anti-harassment training, some of the basic stuff you have to go through, normal orientation. I guess I met with lobbyists on Monday as well. They're already out here and about. One of the weird things I found about being elected as a new senator is the lobbyists take you out to dinner quite a bit. I think I've gained 7 pounds since the election, and it's one of those things where I got to start watching that, or
Yeah, if
else
you keep up that pace by March, that's going to be.
Yeah, I'll be a balloon. I'll be able to enter the balloon fiesta probably by October. So I got to watch that. That's one of the things that's really different, and that a lot of the they take you out to dinner just to tell you what their issues are. So it's actually very good because lobbyists serve a real important function to keep us up to breast on some of the issues that are affecting the state. But I guess my first day, obviously, in the inaugural day, being sworn in was a momentous time for my wife and I, and we brought some friends up from New Mexico, from Albuquerque, who helped us in our campaign, and they were part of the festivities as well. Then I was asked, and this was very surprising to me. I was asked to impromptu to walk down the aisle when the governor showed up for the joint session during the State of the State address. And so I was an honor, and a little bit different. I wasn't expecting it. Wasn't sure if I was really in front of her, behind her, or what. So we started off in front, and all of a sudden they sort of pushed us aside, and we got behind them. But it was again an interesting thing. So we all listened to her the State of the State address, and then afterwards we were finally given the committee meetings that we were going to be serving on, and so I was assigned the Judiciary and Education Committee, so I'll be serving on those two during this particular session. Neither of which I asked for originally, but actually that's probably good. I did work on the Education Committee a long time ago. I served as an analyst. I spent several years up here as an analyst prior to actually being elected, obviously, and so I know how to read the bills and analyze them. And so now I have folks here who do that for us. And that's going to make it a lot easier. But so I'm looking forward to serving on those two committees and doing what I can to impact New Mexico in a positive manner. I think so. That was all. That was all on the first day. Okay. And then let's see what happened after that. I was trying to remember because there's so many things that happened. I think it was Wednesday. Then the following day, I attended Eastern New Mexico University, had a reception, and they brought in the president of Eastern New Mexico, and it was just a reception at a restaurant. Again, more eating. But what happened was I also got to meet the student body president and student body vice president and talk to them, about what they're doing, their careers. And so it was just actually good to get interaction with, students and find out kind of what they're doing. Yesterday, I had a really important meeting in the morning with the Legislative Finance Committee, and they gave a very good overview of what's going on in Medicaid in the state of New Mexico. And so, I'd heard about how expensive Medicaid is for the state and how much money is spent on that, but it was shocking to me that over 40% of the people in New Mexico are currently on Medicaid, which is an amazing stat. And probably even more amazing was the fact that in 2017, the overall budget in the Medicaid program was about $5.7 billion. And today it's already close to $10 billion. And by my calculation, if this continues at this rate, probably in 10 years, it's going to be $20 billion. So we've got to figure out some way to constrain costs. It's going to become unaffordable at some point, and more people who may need, obviously, medical services. We got to figure out a better way to do this. And so I don't think that's a good thing that we're currently where we are. But it was good for me to kind of get that background and to understand what's happening. And so that was a good learning opportunity yesterday. And later on, last night, we had a big Republican Party of New Mexico reception. So probably these were people from all over the state came up to that. It was actually led by the new RPNM chair, who was Amy Barella. And it was a very well-attended event. Actually, it was probably a lot of energy in the room, probably more so than I've ever seen in the previous times I've gone. People were very energetic about the future of New Mexico, and you really saw the House side, the House leadership, the Senate leadership, and the party, the state party, all working together, which is probably happening for the first time in a long time. And so I think there's just a sense of energy that things are going to be changing in New Mexico, hopefully for the better as we go forward. So all of this has happened in the first week.
That's a busy first week.
And I'm actually hoping it slows down.
I wouldn't hold my breath on that, but Senator, you're a retired aerospace engineer who worked at Sandia National Laboratories. Kind of, tell our listeners how someone with that background kind of gets interested and involved in politics.
Well, that's probably a much longer story than you're really going to listen to.
Maybe the short version.
Yeah, there's no really concise version, other than the fact that, I'm a retired aerospace engineer from Sandia. I worked for Lockheed Martin for about 7 years. I worked with Sandia for about 27 years. So, basically, that technical background has allowed me to kind of see things in a pretty different way than, say, a typical politician would. And as most of you know, engineers are interested in solutions. We don't just want to talk about a problem. We're interested in how we can solve the problem. That's kind of what we do. That's where our head is at. And so I'm hoping I can bring some of that to the legislature going forward. I have a lot of concerns about what I see in the state. I mean, obviously, most of you already know the stats. We're kind of last in everything good, bad or good, and first in everything bad. And so it's one of those things where we can hopefully change the direction of New Mexico. But my involvement in politics probably started way back in 2010 when I was still working, but I got involved in the Tea Party after, Barack Obama got elected. And I was raised a Democrat, but I did not vote for him originally, and because I read his book, and I thought, I got to figure out, well, if I'm not a Democrat, what am I? And so I just started reading and paying attention, and I read a book by Mark Levin called Liberty and Tyranny, which really woke me up. And then I read another book called The Creature from Jekyll Island, which is a book about the Federal Reserve. Those two books basically convinced me that I saw the world in a different manner. And so it opened up my eyes, and I became a Republican in 2011 and have never looked back. But I got into politics mainly because I was frustrated with seeing what's happening to New Mexico. I love this state. I've been here now almost 45 years. I came here in 79. And so I love this state. It's a great state. It's got tremendous resources. The people are wonderful. Where I live up in the East Mountains, it's beautiful. My neighborhood is great. And everything is positive about the state except for one thing, and it's the political nature of what's going on and the decisions that are being made by our leaders. And so I didn't willingly go into politics. It wasn't something I planned to do. It's obviously not my career. And so in some sense, it kind of frees me up because I'm not worried about the next election or whether or not I'm going to get voted in again. I'm trying to do a service. I'm here to do a service, and I know why many people elected me. And so I can be pretty much forthright about the directions that I think we need to go and voice those and not be concerned about the ramifications afterwards. So it's kind of freeing in that regard. And I'm hoping I can commit to that going forward.
Yeah,
Does that make
and
sense?
I want to talk about policies a little bit, and we haven't really had a chance to talk about taxes and tax reform on this podcast yet, which I know is something both parties are focused on. And I know you kind of campaigned on reforming gross receipts taxes and eliminating state taxes on Social Security and military pensions for retirees. Do you want to talk a little bit more about that?
Well, yes, but I haven't entered any bills at that point in regards to those right now. I think the first thing that I'm trying to do, and we can talk about taxes down the line if you want to, but one of the first things I'm trying to do right now is, as you know, Trump's policy is very strong about immigration and illegal immigration. And so initially I was going to submit a bill to like help build the border wall, but that's a huge amount of money that's going to have to come from the federal government, and it's also a federal government responsibility. But what I'm planning on doing is introducing a bill that will create a state border czar out of the office of the governor, and essentially it's a small office, but it will be a deputy and a director who will be responsible, and of course some assistants. So it'll be a small office, but their job will be to coordinate with federal and local law enforcement to help coordinate border security operations, whatever that might entail, and to work with the federal government as well as the state government to ensure that we have a secure border. And we'll see how far that goes in this legislation. And I'm putting it in the office of the governor because I have been out to, went to Eagle Pass and Del Rio, Texas, also to see their border and their construction of the border wall. So I know what they're doing. And we also met with this Texas state border czar who's coordinating all of that. And so I could see how that effort should work, and it could work here. Texas has already told us that because of the wall that they've already built, that the traffic is now coming our way. And I know for a fact that we're seeing human trafficking occurring here in New Mexico at a very high level. And I've heard that directly from the local district attorney here in Bernalillo County. So that's something I think needs to be addressed and something we can work on right away going forward.
And it sounds like you're kind of going right ahead with introducing bills and things like that. I know in the past, sometimes legislators in their first term kind of just try to absorb it all, but it seems like that's changed over the years. And, first term legislators are getting right involved, introducing bills. And obviously, with some of your familiarity with the process, it seems like that might help for drafting bills and kind of knowing how that all works.
Yeah, I think I have a little bit of you're exactly right, because I was up here for 3 years as an analyst, and that really gave me some insight into the process. Now, I just spoke with the majority analyst right here a few minutes before this podcast, and I'm getting these bills written, but now I go, so how do I submit them? So I have no clue, because I used to just analyze them and never worried about it after the fact.
So magically
but now that I got it written and I think it's okay, how do I get it submitted so it gets into the record? So those are the kinds of things I still need to learn. I think a lot of the newbies here are they're not any less experienced than I am. So I think they're going to be doing, I think they also have some bills they're going to be submitting. The only thing I find missing at this point early in the game is that we as a group have not met to coordinate what our bills would be. In other words, I have no idea what the other senators are putting together right now. We haven't sat down in a full group and gone through all the bills and saying, hey, maybe we can combine ours together or something like that. So I still feel like we need, and I think that's part of the learning process as we go forward, but we haven't quite had that coordination yet. So there may be some overlapping with the bills that get submitted because we haven't had those conversations.
Yeah, and how about communication with the majority party, the Democrats, that you'll need to get the bill on the other side of the finish line?
Exactly. Well, right now we're all very cordial with one another. Some of the people that I'm sitting down on the floor with, right next to me, are Democrats, but they seem friendly enough, and we're mutually. I think because there's so many new people, about a third of the legislature is now new, so it has a different feel to it. I'm hoping that ends up with bipartisanship in going forward. It's going to be necessary to get things done that I think are really going to impact New Mexico in a positive manner. It remains to be seen, but right now I'm looking at everybody as a potential person I can work with. I have no biases going forward with respect to that, and we'll just see how it works. I think it's important. The Senate is sort of like they say the higher office, right? And so the way things are handled, they seem to be more respectful, and we're able to listen to each other's sides, and hopefully come to some rational compromise on some things. I'm sure there are going to be some bills that we're going to be completely against, and they're going to be pushing forward on, and we'll have to wait and see how that plays out. But that's part of the business of legislative activity. So.
Yeah, and now that we've kind of wrapped up, as you talked about this first week of the session, now looking ahead to week two, it seems like a lot of the committees are going to be cranking up and starting to hear bills. I'm sure in judiciary and education, you're going to have a lot of bills coming before those committees. Are you planning to kind of, I guess, rest up a little bit over the weekend and get ready for kind of diving into some of that committee work? Or what's your thoughts on entering week two now?
I'm planning on going home tomorrow morning. I have a place up here that some friends of ours are allowing us to stay in their home, and they're out skiing for 6 weeks. And they said the only responsibility I have is to take care of their cat. So I don't want to leave the cat for more than a day. So I'm waiting till tomorrow to leave. And then coming back on Sunday, because there's a caucus meeting where we're going to be discussing strategy together before we start getting into our committee meetings. And so we're having that late Sunday evening. And then we get to it starting on Monday. And so it's going to be fun. I'm excited. I still feel like this is an honor to represent so many people in the East Mountains, and I represent 4 counties. It's Torrance County, Sandoval County, Santa Fe, and Bernalillo, and so it's a quite large district, and it's probably one of the fewest that have both a rural and urban, mixed together. So it's kind of a mix. So I have different sides I have to attend to.
Sure,
Yeah.
and I know you replaced Senator Greg Schmiedes. Did he give you any kind of advice or any words of wisdom kind of taking over that district? Or
he gave me a lot of advice. I mean, I sat down with him when I decided to enter back in January of last year, I guess. It was right after this session last year. He approached me and said he was going to step down. He has a full-time practice, and he has like 6 or 7 children. And so he said, I just want to start focusing on my children. And he asked me if I would run for him in his place. And so, yeah, we spoke a lot about, first the running and the process. And one of the things that he suggested to me, and I did that, was to try to talk to every minister and pastor in the area, every preacher and priest. And so I contacted as many as I could and met with each one of them one-on-one just to let them know who I was, kind of where I was coming from, who I was. And I asked them to hold me accountable. So that was really good for me because I feel like I have that backup behind me. And so regardless of how hard it's going to be and strenuous it's going to be going forward, I know I have these folks backing me up. And if I go off course, they'll straighten me out. So in that regard, I think it's going to be really, really good for that. And that was good advice from Greg. He suggested that, and that was one of the first things I did when I started running for this position.
And before we wrap up here, Senator, we've been kind of asking around for everybody's go-to pick-me-up. Like we asked Representative Javier Martinez. He said bacon wrap from the Capitol cafeteria. Representative Rebecca Dow said she's a caffeineaholic. She always has chai tea with her. So what do you think is going to be your go-to pick-me-up in the Roundhouse this year?
That's a good question. I don't know yet because of the weight gain since the lobbyist stuff. I'm trying to go keto now, and I don't drink coffee because it irritates my stomach. So I don't do coffee. I do like tea. So I haven't quite figured it out though. But I have some peanuts down here, and I got beef jerky. I'm trying to say, okay, don't eat all the bad junk. At least get something that protein that keeps me going. We'll see. I don't want to be dozing off on the floor at 2 a.m. and when a big bill comes through. So I don't know exactly what I'm going to be using to keep me going right now. But and I don't want to do Coke or something like that. Maybe because you get that quick high, but then you crash. Mm-hmm. And so I want to prevent something like that from occurring as well. So right now it's going to be protein sticks or something to that nature, and peanuts.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where I'm at.
Well, Senator, we really appreciated your time and enjoyed kind of getting to know you a little bit better. We'll have to have you back on once the session kind of gets a little closer to its end date. But I appreciate you taking the the time to chat with some of the listeners and share kind of your experiences in the first week.
Okay, well, thank you. I appreciate the invite. This is the first time I've done something like this, so I hope it goes well.
Same for us.
All right.
We're still learning the ropes too.
For our listeners out there, this has been Rounding Up the Roundhouse. We'll come to you a couple times a week during the session. We only have 50-some days left, more than that. But you can find us on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts.
Thanks for listening.
Okay, thank you very much.